Hey YouTube, it's Mike Bang Gangster, and today let's talk a little bit about why so much hate on Diablo 4. There's a lot of videos that are coming out with people saying that people are quitting the game. Now, before we do get into that, a real quick understanding of like who I am and why my opinion it could be very different than some other people. So let's categorize the player pool in three classes. Three classes. So of course there's the casuals, there's the people that play in between, like a little bit more than casual, and of course there's the hardcore players. So I consider myself the middle class. Okay, so I, as you can see in the background, you see me. I am grinding a level 51 tier nightmare dungeon as my 90 barbarian. Okay, so I'm still not level 100 here. Okay, it's like I said, I'm the middle class. So I've been playing anywhere between 15 to 20 hours per week. And a couple of weeks ago, I basically made a video saying that I was concerned about how slow the leveling was in this game. Now, we did end up getting a patch, which basically increased the experience of leveling your character. Now, I still don't believe it is at the point where it needs to be. I personally believe like the whole point of Diablo should be about playing the end game. The factor that you're making the game extremely long to get to the end game is kind of like killing all the first two player pools. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to make people understand why so many people are quitting this game. So the casual players and the middle class players, like me, for example, we'll get to the hardcore players afterwards because we have another issue, of course, with the game. The big concern is 2/3 of your players that are actually quitting your game is based on the fact that leveling in this game is extremely fucking boring. Okay, it's just I don't want to be like vulgar or anything, but you have no choice to put the fucking word in it because it is extremely fucking slow. And this is big problem because, like I said, when it comes to a Diablo game, you basically want to get to the end game as quickly as possible. Not only do you want to get to the end game as quickly as possible, you want to be able to play every single class because that's what the game is about. It's about like, trying out the different classes, trying out the different builds, trying out the majority of the items in the games, the uniques, and so on. So if that wouldn't be an issue, you would have already a lot of people that will be hanging around your game and still be playing it at this point because there will be a lot of like fun factors still in the game for trying out different classes and different builds with different characters because that is the principle of the game. Okay, at least from the way I've played Diablo in the past. Okay, Diablo 3, Diablo 2, Diablo 1, and so on. Okay, I've always played multiple classes. Now, like I said, 2/3 of your player pool are leaving the game because the experience is extremely slow. Now, of course, Blizzard has announced that this year Diablo 4 was going to be a seasonal game, but then again, that's even more concerning because if it's a seasonal game, well, then people are most likely in those two classes are not even going to be playing a season because they're not going to go through the leveling grind once again because it's just too fucking ridiculous. Okay. So that's the major issue of you losing 2/3 of your player pool. You have to increase the experience times 10. Okay? Like you'd be like, oh, that's great. Times 10, bro. Just fucking make it in a way where even the casual player could like play the game for 1 week and get to like level 100. Okay? Like that's the honest truth. Okay. Now let's get to the hardcore players, which this is a very small, believe it or not, it's actually, at least in my way of seeing the game, it's a very small percentage of the player pool because, as you can see, they came out with a stat. I'm not exactly sure exactly when, but it was like, 4 million people that bought the game, blah, 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 blah. And there was only like 1,000 players that actually reached level 100. So as you can see, the hardcore player is very miniature, but it's there, right? Of course, there's the hardcore grinders of the Diablo games, okay, in which we have to basically make sure that these guys hang around because these are the guys that basically make the game survive because these are most likely the guys that either create videos, create builds, and so on, guides, right? And all that stuff. So if you're killing these guys too, well, your game is completely fucking dying. Because why are these guys leaving? Well, it's simple because these guys play a lot, of course, because that's why they're the hardcore grinders. And they get to the end game and they start realizing that either if you're level 75 or level 100, there's no real beneficial getting to level 100 because most likely, if you're grinding in your 70s, 80s, you most likely already picked up the gear that you needed for you to create your build. You got pretty much, I would say, not pretty much, but like I'd say, pretty decent player, like items invest in slots, which are good enough for the moment. There's no real upgradable items for a very, very, very long time, a very long period of time. It's kind of extremely boring for these type of players to continue playing the game, especially that the fact that there's 6 rare uniques that are fucking so rare that you could probably win the lottery and win millions of dollars instead of actually getting one of these items, which is again very very concerning because like the art players would like to get these items, so I'm pretty sure they could create more guides, more builds, more videos, which only the lucky ones are going to be able to do that because you got to win the lottery to get these items. So there's a big concerning part of the hardcore players playing this game at the end game because the end game is also very very badly done at the moment because gear just doesn't matter once you're level 75 plus. You're pretty much once you're tier 4, you're pretty much already at the beginning of tier 4 getting the best in slot gear, which reaching level 100 doesn't really matter unless you want to basically get to the tier 100 in Nightmare and you want to try to kill Lilith. That's about it. There's nothing else to do. So a lot of these guys are just basically burned out and they're moving on to other games because there's just basically nothing else to talk about this game, right? So hopefully you guys could understand where I'm coming from, and Blizzard needs to make a lot of changes to make this game starting to be a good game again because you're losing a lot of your players. So hopefully they understand.